everyone. Good to see you. This program was one of many CMA-funded projects on the Kurnell Peninsula, most of which were managed with brilliant expertise from Southern Shire Council. So enormous thanks to Paul Price and Brendan Graham from the council. The project is out on the Kurnell Peninsula at Botany Bay, and there's our project partners. It was an offset site, and fisheries were keen to have some monitoring done, so we teed up with Paul Adam from University of New South Wales and CT Environmental to get some monitoring done. We've only been monitoring for 4 months. Our site of 3 hectares at Horning Street is linked to the Tara Point Ramsar wetland via the Aquatic Reserve and by land. The aim of the project was to undertake an experimental approach to restoration of a degraded salt marsh and to undertake a baseline conditions study prior to the start of works and monitor over time. This shows a history of degradation. The first map is in 1940s, where there was a lot of timber getting from mangroves and shell extraction for lime mortar. And we had a return of vegetation coverage, salt marsh coverage over the site in 1961, and in 1970 we had major vehicle access to the site. And this is 2009, still with the scour marks of vehicle access and dead car bodies. Our 600 hectares of salt marsh at Tara Point gives us hope. It also has a checkered past of intensive sheep and cattle farming and vehicle access since the 1800s, and its recovery gave us hope for our site. The plant species and invertebrate species here at Tara Point also are at our site at Horning Street. Here's our site at Horning Street. If it's not all churned up by bikes and cars, it was highly compacted. So our idea was to get some elevation mapping in centimetres, get a restoration plan together and select and map the reference plots, the revegetation plots and the control plot locations. There's our elevation mapping done by Southern Shire Council. And we fenced off the whole site and put signage up, letterbox drops, and council did a lot of community consultation in letting them know what this offset was. We worked with the local school kids on a 38-degree day in April to get them down working with the scientists, and the marketing of the project is always around the food chain, starting with the plants leading to crab habitat, crab zoe, the glassfish coming in, followed by the bream. And the kids out at Kurnell are very keen fisher people, so they relate to the food chain. This is after we take off about 100 car bodies and engine mountings and 6 tonnes of rubbish. The reference plots all set up for invertebrates and vegetation cover. Wherever there was more than 10% vegetation cover, they were the reference plots randomly selected at both elevations. There's our re-veg plots, our control plots. The results of the baseline study, so we're only going back to May and June this year. Vegetation cover was greater in the reference plots than the treatment and control plots, as you would expect. Crab burrows were more abundant in reference plots than treatment and control plots. Snail abundance was greatest in the high elevation treatment areas. And the ecological community recorded at the reference plots were significantly different to other plots. So Carl Tippler from Environmental is doing the research out there with Paul Adam, and the reference plots in the blue are all very similar to each other, and they're very different from our control and treatment plots in the red, and we're hoping to see those two come closer together over time. Now that's starting in June, that's stake 50, so we didn't have much happening. In September, you can see the little Sarcocornia seedlings there coming up and lots of crab activity all around the site. In our re-veg plots, we had 5% mortality only. We've got active crab burrows coming into very compacted areas, and we've got tiny little Sarcocornia seedlings washing on of their own accord across the site. We've got bike tracks bedded down with algal mats, regeneration of sarcocornea and crab activity. Crab activity all over the spot, and thanks to Virginia Bear for her brilliant photography, and Sue will just show you a little bit of that coming up.